Hi, this video is related to one of the community member asked me to do a SharePoint list record validations and changing some of the values, etc. So I decided to document those requirements and start building the flow. Okay, so the trigger here is when a SharePoint record gets created, validate the following. So the number one requirement is there is a preferred name from the first name in different columns. So the format I believe is the first name is called David Smith with brackets as David is the preferred name. And so that means we need to remove the brackets and take the David and move into the preferred name column. Okay. That's the first task. And then when we're moving into it, the second the requirement is related to the first one. So capitalize the first letter of the preferred name. So that means if it's small David, like small d David, then that means we need to make that as a capital D as David. Yeah. And also we need to remove the trailing spaces and braces around the preferred name while separating the first name column. Yeah. And the final one, sorry, not the final one, the third one is if email values are null, then copy the record to another list. Okay, so there is another email column there, and if the email is null, then move it to the next list. Okay, and the final one is the remove the duplicate email addresses and separate the email address. Okay, need to remove the trailing spaces in between email address or any contact. Okay, so also I believe he asked for update the email with new lines. Okay, so that means if you have a@a.com semicolon b@b.com comma c@c.com comma b b@b.com, that means the results we want to update in the same list is to remove the duplicate and get those emails into the next lines. Okay, so let's start building the flow then. So I have got a SharePoint list which I created, and that's called A1. So I'll go to the A1 list. That's going to be the list I'm going to get created. So I got list here. So I'm going to use the title as the first name. Yeah. And then preferred name, email address. And there is also a check for duplicate as well. Yeah. If the first name is already there, in any other column, then we need to set that as a duplicate. So what I did is I put that as an option set. Okay, so I'll show you how that looks like. So that's what the option set looks like. So first it says not validated, and if once the flow is run successfully, then we can set if the record is duplicated, yes or no. Yeah. Okay. So let's start building the flow then. So the first thing what we need to do here is I'm going to go to the automated cloud flow. Just going to skip that. You could go from from the list, selecting the trigger if you want. So there are different ways you could get around for that. And I'm going to look for SharePoint, and my trigger is when an item is created. Okay, so once they're done, and then select the SharePoint list and my list name, SharePoint site, and my list is called A1. Okay, I created another one called B1 as well. So if in case if our email is blank, I want to copy that records into another list. Okay, so it's exactly the same column names I used for the B1. So I'll quickly show you the B1, except the duplicate column which we don't want there. So you can see a title, preferred name, and email address. Remember the title, I'm going to use that as the name, the first name. Okay. Right, so that's my trigger, and the first thing we need to do here is let's go back and look the requirement again, separate the flow, and so the format is going to be like this. We want to remove, the brackets and take the David and move into the preferred column. So as I mentioned, the title that is going to be the name I'm going to use here. So let's take that first. So I'm going to look for title, and in case if you have a first name column, just use that. So just for the demo purpose, title is my first name column I'm using here. Okay, so here we go. That's my first compose here. So I'm going to rename this called first name then. Right. Okay. And let's save this flow then. So what we could do here is validate and clean list. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to save the flow now. Right. And this next thing we need to do here is we want to, we want to take the middle name then from remove the brackets and take the name. So for that, the best thing to do here is you could do in a couple of ways. So I'm going to use another compose. You need to use the expression here, the Power Automate expression, and you could use a split. Okay. So you can have a split and then look for the dynamic and use the first name and what you're going to split with. So we could split with a starting bracket like that. Okay, and click OK that. Right, save the flow again. And let's run this flow and see what the result is going to be like. So I'm going to create in my the list A1. And let's go and create a new, the name here. So like I mentioned, David Smith is my name and my preferred name is David. So let's take it that small case also. That's one of the requirement to convert that small d into the capital D. Right, and the email address, I'm going to use the same thing which I mentioned earlier. So a at a.com, comma b at b.com, comma c at c.com, and comma or semicolons, whichever one you want to use it, that's fine. And then again, I'm going to duplicate another a at a.com. Right, okay, so and it's not validated and save the flow. So once this is saved, hopefully the flow is going to run. So I'm going to click the back button here and to just look this refresh button here. So I'm just going to keep refreshing it here. Okay. So flow will trigger in any minute. So sometimes when it first create a flow, it takes a little bit time to trigger, right? That means it is finalizing a couple of things behind the scene from the server side. Generally, it is quite fast, but in this case, I don't know why it's taking a little more time than I expected. So let's wait for the trigger then. Okay. Okay, so flow ran successfully and just have a look the run history. Right, you can see here, it's split the second um, index. So we can get this value and then we could do another split on top of this to get the value as David then. So to do that, what we could do here is we could add another compose. So I'm going to add another compose here and do the same split. This time the split output, the input is coming from the previous output, which is this compose output. Yeah. And comma, and this time the separator is the other bracket. The first time we used the left bracket, this time it is the close bracket. Okay. I forgot to add the index there, so I need to put the index as 1 there because that's where the second value is actually. Because when we use the split, it's going to create it split the string value into multiple index. So index starts with a 0. So we need the second index. That means first 0, 1. 1 is our second index there. Yeah, click OK that. Right, let's try to run this. So to run this again, I don't need to go and create another record. So what I could do here is click on the test flow and with a recent trigger, and I'm using the last run there, okay, and save and test. So it will utilize the same trigger then and same record as well. Right, okay, so this is for the first one is it that this is a zero index I mentioned, and this is the second one I mentioned, the index one. And now we got David, and David is the first index now again in that. Yeah. So to get this value, what we need to here now is we could add a next compose here and use that same output. So again, the expression I could say like, um, sorry, the dynamic content is output of this. So that's output we need to map, but we need to use the index. So the technique is we need to copy this. So press Control X, go to the expression and paste it there. Or you can directly type output, single quotes combos underscore two. Why underscore two is because we got a space here in the name of the previous step. So if you're if you're putting that in the expression, you need to use underscore, okay? And then here I'm using the first value, the index zero there. Click OK that. Okay, so I'm going to run it again. Use the last trigger run and test the flow. Okay, so let's see again. So that's the index one we used. Now we split the record. That means this is the split for the other bracket, and this is the first index, which is zero. So now third one, we reference the zero index, that is David now. So that's the way you can get that value as David. Yeah. What you could do is you could use everything in one compose if you want, but that's quite complicated. That's the only thing. And also, I would say, there's the value, the first name which we saw here is which contains two brackets. So suppose you have a name with just David Smith and there is no brackets, that means this is going to get failed. So if you want to avoid that, you need to add an if condition there. So something like this, add an if condition and to say the output, the first name output contains that starting bracket as this. Then then you can move everything over here. Then just drag and drop everything under here. That's it. And click on the test again and see that works then. So this way, flow never going to get a break then, because we are checking whether is any is any brackets there in the first name or not. So in this case, we have a bracket. So that means all of our other logic we put, it's going to work. So here it is. That's the David now. Okay. Next thing the requirement asked here is we want to make that as the capital D there. So that means we need to use a couple of things to do that. It's not so we need to use another compose. Okay, so in this compose we need to find the first letter. So for that we need to use a substring function, substring, and then get the output from the previous action step, which is compose 3. Then you can put comma, 0 is the index starts with, and 1, the first character we want, and click OK that. I forgot the one of the requirement was to remove the spaces also, so we could use a trim then. So that removes the trailing spaces. It doesn't remove the spaces between the words, but if you got spaces before and after, that will remove. So just want to make it safe, that trim also here in the combos 3 output. Okay. Let me remove this. Yeah, so that's the trim. Okay. So trim output combos 2, so that's going to trim then. Then the next statement is, next action step is we want to find the first character, so that's a substring. Okay, so let me test this and show you how that's going to come out. Okay, so let's have a look. So the combos 3, we know it's David, and it's trimmed also. We added the trim statement, so it's only got no spaces there, trailing spaces there. So now we want to get the D then. So let's have a look. That's D. See that? So let me go back and edit. And what we could do here is we could say U case, that's uppercase or upper, I think. I'm not sure it's upper or U case. I can't remember. Right? It's upper. Oh yeah, two upper. So two upper means it converts that into the capital case then. So two upper. Here we go. So this technique is called the expressions within the expression. So we are taking the output of that substring, and then what are the output inside that coming, it's going to convert that into two upper. That means it converts into the capital letters. The next action step I want. So I'm going to add another compose. So for this, you're going to add multiple compose action steps. And for that, what we want to do here is I'm going to use again the substring function again, substring and bracket. Then output from from the first one, because first one contained that's David, remember that. So I want the output of the David here. So that's compose 3. Remember the compose 3 one is the the name we want. And then comma, then 1, and 1 is means we want to start with the first index onwards of this the the character onwards, then comma and sub. So we want to use a sub because we want to exclude the first character. So we want to use the sub and use the length of the total string, total length of the actual name. And then there we need to use comma 1 there, comma 1. That's it. So in this one we use the index as 0. So remember the index 0 means that's where they're starting with. So 0 means the first character and 1 means second character onwards. So we want the second character onwards we want here. So if I going to run this now, we could see capital D, and this should have, hopefully we have the rest of the characters. So let's see then. Ah, flow failed in compose 5 then. Okay, why compose 5 failed? It says 0 line 0 template function sub expects two numeric parameters. Okay. So I believe I messed up a little bit there. Let's have a look. So substring output compose underscores 3 comma sub length of the outputs compose 3. Yeah, I forgot comma 1 then. I thought I typed that, but it didn't save it somehow. Yeah, comma 1 because I want to exclude the first character of from that length. No, it's not coming up again. Let me go there and type it again then. Comma 1, click update. Yeah, looks like that's done. So this should work now. Okay. So combos 4, here we go. That's capital D, and rest should be AVID. Okay, that's the technique we need to use. So now we need to combine these two into one, one value there. So that is compose 6 then. Okay, in the compose 6, we can use, there is something called concat. So concat means it combines two strings into, it combines into one. So basically, we want to take the compose 4 output, compose 4, comma, then we want the compose 5 output, which is this. So just make sure that your mapping is correct. Okay, that's correct. And then click OK at that. Now test the flow then again and see that's going to work. Right, let's have a look at the last statement, compose 6. Here we go, that's David now. So that's our first requirement we did. And so that means we capitalize the first letter, remove the trailing spaces and the brackets, and we finally got the letter we want, that is David. Remember the input we had, the input was like that. Okay, so that's the first one. And then the next one we want to do here is if the email values are null. If it's not null, then we need to remove the duplicates, and then put that into the new lines. So now it's in one line. We want to put that in the next lines that. So I'll show you how to do that. Okay. Okay, so this is our final result for the name then. So I'm going to call this as preferred name. Okay, that's what we call. And again here I could add another if condition. So I'm going to add another if condition to check. And no, I can't, I don't need to add that because that's going to mess up the things there. Right, so that's the preferred name. So to do the update, what we want is we want to initialize that variable there. So I'm going to initialize a variable, initialize variable here, and call this as preferred name. That's string value, string. And this preferred name, I'm going to set that. Or you could use a set and use the concat there. And so set variable. So select the preferred name and get the output from that compose one we had. So preferred name output. That's a previous one. Yeah. So here we go. Output preferred name. So we got that. That's first step we did. The second one we want to add another if. So minimize that if condition. So this is the second one. And check the email field is none. That's another one. So here we are going to check email address. So email address is equal to none. That is an expression I used there. And if it's null means we want to create into another list that. So use the Sharepoint, another connector Sharepoint create one. So Sharepoint create item, select the site, that is this, and that is B1 is the list. And here I'm going to map the title, which is coming from the first, when an item is created, the trigger, and the preferred name. And here the preferred name is nothing there because if you want to use that, you could use that preferred name which we found. Okay, let's map that. Or if you don't want to map it, you can make it blank. And the email address, which is blank also because it's not. So that's that. I don't think anything we can do here. And the next thing we need to do here is if it's not null, that means there is some value there. So for that, I'm going to use a compose again. Here we go, the compose there, and let's have a look. And it's comma separated. Okay, so I'm going to use the split expression again here. So that's a split. Click on the dynamic and I use the email and email address. Let's go down and select the email address. Okay, email address from the trigger body, comma, and that's my separator is a comma here. Okay, that's a split. So once the split is done, then what I could do next is I could use another compose, and this is for removing the duplicates. So you could use union here, union. So union, it should be an array. So because the split gives the output as an array, I think my mic set had some issues earlier. I think hope you could hear it. Okay, so this is the union, and so that means the union I'm going to use here as the union. And then in the dynamic one again, I'm going to select the previous output, which is from the compose 6. Okay, and again use the same thing. It's two arrays, so we don't have another array to compare. It's only the one array here. So that's the technique we need to use here. And let's have a run and see what we are going to get here. Okay. And use I need to do another expression here to put the enter key values there. Okay, so for that, what we need to do here is we need to use join. So what that do is it returns a string of each item of an array joined by a delimiter. So we want to put, instead of the comma, we want to put the enter keys then. Okay, that's coming from the output of the combo 7, the previous output combo 7 here, then comma, and then we want the decode URI component, and then two brackets, then two single quotes, then put percentage 0 capital A. So that is the the encoded the URL decoded value for the enter key. That's that. Okay, so I'm going to run the flow now and see that's going to work or not. Here it is. So we got that value now. So now we can see it's all separated. Remove the duplicates. From there we remove the the commas, and instead we want the enter keys then. So again add another initialize another variable here called so use a variable again called initialize variable, and then call this as the email address and as a string. And again under the compose 2, after that final output, a set variable, select email address and map the output of the combos 3, then combos sorry combos 8, combos 8. Okay, so finally we got all the variables we want, and then now we what we could do is we could go and say update item from the SharePoint connector, select the site address, then the list name here is A1, and the ID is coming from the create item trigger. So this is the ID we want to map. Then the title, so title we can keep it as exactly as it is. So we can say that when an item is created, whatever the title is, that's what we want. The preferred name, we got the variable name we cleaned up, and also the email address with the enter key, and then validated with, we could say like um, with yes or no here. Oh, we need to find the duplicate as well. So for that, forgot that. So what we want to do here is we want to add another if condition here. Sorry, not the if condition. We want to add another SharePoint filter here. So let's take SharePoint get items. And under the get items, we could say, okay, this is my SharePoint list. The list is called A1. And then we could say the filter query here, see that? So in the filter query, we could go and say the title we mapped here. See the title body slash this one. So we could map the same thing here for that. Oh no, sorry. The title is the column name of the SharePoint is equal to the value we got from the trigger. So that is that. So value we got from the trigger is called the title. Here we go. See if any value is there, we know that it exists. So now we need another if condition to check. So under the if condition, we are checking the length of the body of the get item. So you could say body get underscore items, question mark, square bracket, two single quotes, value. Here we go. See that length, body, question mark, value. So this means if the record is there or not. That's what the expression means. So let's see the brackets I closed or not. I think I closed everything. Place your cursor here and click OK. That no, doesn't like it. So why? So body get items question mark Okay, I think I need to put that and put the length. I put extra brackets. So length, body, then bracket, two single quotes. Yeah, that's the syntax I want. See that? So length, body, then get items question mark value. And is equal to zero means there is no duplicate. So that means we can use this update to say, yeah, update, and we could set the value as no duplicate. Okay. I'm going to use another mechanism here for speeding up the development. That is copy to my clipboard and go back here to my clipboard and add the same thing. Okay, it's added that. So that's the update item 2 then. So here that means there is a duplicate there if it's no means. So that means you could say that as is then. Okay, let's try to run this and see how the flow is going to work. Right, and let's see then. Oh, the flow failed. Let me go and have a look. The update, it says OpenAI, the result string values are valid, they may not be null or empty ID then. Okay, so the empty ID then so it's out update item. So updated with that, duplicate is no, those all good. So the ID, oh, the ID is getting null there for some reason. So why the ID is null? The ID is we are getting from this here. So that's a new item. Click on output. So let's see the ID there. Yeah, the ID is one there. You can see the ID. I might be marked, I might be mapped the wrong ID there. Let me go and have a look in the update item there. Output create item body one. I'm not sure that. So I want that ID coming from the trigger. When an item is created, that's the one I want. Here we go. So let's copy that. Use the same thing here also because that is also wrong. So best thing always is search for the ID, not get items, not the create items, not the when an item, sorry, the when an item is created, that's the ID we want for the update. Cool. So now that should work. Here it is. So we know there is no duplicate there, so it's updated that. So that means if I take you to here and refresh the page, I should be able to see the preferred name is David and there's no duplicate, and also it's all come up with the format as per the requirement. Okay, so let's test another one with a blank one. So I'm going to add another one called okay, Ravi Kumar and bracket as Ravi. And then, the email address, I'm going to put blank. Preferred name is going to be blank. It's not validated and save. So what this time, what it should happen is, it shouldn't do that job there actually. So let me go back and see the flow run now. So let's keep refreshing it. Okay, flow is running. Flow ran successfully. Let's go to the latest run history and have a look. So in this case, what will happen is the first condition, it checks for all that new name. The new name is Ravi. That's what we want with capital R. And then in the condition 2, we said, if it's blank, it's true. So that means it's null. So if I may take you to the list B1, because it's blank, it should create a record here. So here we go. That's created with the preferred name also. And there is no email address. That's why it's created here. So that was that requirement. I believe I tested with all the requirements as per, the community member asked me. Hope this video is useful. Before I close off the video, I'll just go back to the flow and just quickly explain what we did here. Okay. So here we initialize two variables, then we're mapping the title there. Then under the if condition, we are checking the first one contains with the bracket. That means, it's in a bracket with the preferred name there. Then only do the operations. Otherwise, we don't need to do anything. And finally, we get the preferred name. And here we use couple of compose action steps, which I described earlier. And this one again, we are checking the email address is null. And then based on that, we are creating to a new list, which is the B1, or we are updating the we are finding the email address with that operations, and then finding the get items, and then if it's duplicate, then update the item also. So what we could do here is um, under the get items, the length of the body, then we want to update these items. So we don't need to, we go back here, go back to the A1 then. So here, yeah, so here we updated with the preferred name there, even though this is there is no email address there. We did that, and also we set here the duplicate is S. That's not quite right. The logic here. Let me go and have a look why it's set. So that means if the length is 0 means duplicate is no, otherwise update as yes then. Oh yeah, I know what that means. Because this logic, because we are pushing that into another one, we don't need to do any of this. So the best thing to do here is move this logic into here. Under if it's not null, then we want to do all these operations. So basically we want to move this to be here, but we can't move here because this dependencies is there, get item values. That's the reason it's not moving there. So what I could do is I'm going to copy this, okay, and ignore me what I'm doing here now at the minute. I just want to get a workaround here for that. Now I'm hoping I should be able to move that here. Oh no, why is that? Right, I want to move this, all these into there. So probably what I could do here is I could probably do, okay, let me copy this action step here and go back here and add that clipboard items, get items here. Okay, that I got. Then I could add again, copy this one here and go to my clipboard and say add that if condition for me there. But now I want to change this to get items. Yeah, that's right. So before I do it, I want to move and delete this. Okay, and delete this also. Cool. And then under the length, I'm going to say get items. So that means I need to rename this to get items. That's all it is. Yeah. So that's correct now. So that means, if the email is null, we are updating to a new list. And if the email is, not null, then, get all the emails into the new lines. And then finally, we are updating the item with whether it's find the duplicate or not. So it should work fine now, actually. So let me go back and add a, oh, it's not saved successfully. Let me go and have a look again why it's not saved successfully. Just get items trigger. So that's the trigger body one. This is from the title again. That's all correct. The length, it is the get items with the filter we got. Oh, let me have a look the filter. Output of the create body title. So the title we want is title when an item is created. Yeah, that's the trigger output one we want. Okay, now it's all correct. It should save now. Okay, so I think I mapped it wrong there. So that title is coming from the trigger then. Okay, so let's test this again. So let me go back for testing. I need to add a new record. So I'm going to add another record here called I don't see now, and make it that as I don't know small case and save it. So basically I want this run, so we will see that it should go to the list B1. So let's see is it running or not. Okay, looks like flow ran successfully. Let's go to this. So you can see here, that's pushed into, because there is no email address, it's pushed into the next list, which is B1. And if I take it to the A1 list, that should say Irun. And let me refresh this again. Oh, still it says not duplicate, not validated. Okay, so what we could do here is, let me go back. No, I think the first logic we did is correct. So I'm going to move it back to here. That means it's outside that if condition, right? And then in the condition 4, I said update. If the length is 0, then we are going to say so if the length is 0, that means it's not duplicate, and if the length is 1 means that. So this means it's a filter we are doing here. Yes, correct. Let me run that with again that. So before I make the run, I'm going to delete from the B1 then. The B1 record, I'm going to delete it. Okay, so let me run using the last run again. I just want to test that. Let's see that. Is that going to work or not? Okay, so flow ran okay there. And if I'm going to refresh the B1, that's right. And if I take it to the A1 record there, it says not validated. So why it says it's not validated? So that's the record. It says update 3, which ran successfully. It's set it to duplicate as is there. If it falls, so let me go back to that condition again. So length body of the value. Okay, I found the bug because we are looking the get items from the same list. That means there is going to be one record. So if it's more than one, then only we determine that as a duplicate. So that means we need to here is we need to say if it's greater than one. Okay, so if it is equal to one, that means it's not duplicate. So if it is greater than 1 means that's going to be the duplicate SAS then. Okay, that's why it should work now. Or, yeah, so better to if greater than 1, that means this is duplicate. So change this to duplicate SAS, and then here this should be no then, and save the record. That's it. That's what we need to do then. Okay, so hopefully this is useful, and thank you for watching.